What's your name? Tony Joseph. And this is the little mustard, the gremlin of the family.
I had a dream of being in a busy home office, full of people, moving all around, and standing in line to sit at my desk in our kitchen to review their lists of life's issues and problems, and seeking me for help. It was a collection of family, friends, and former members of my two previous ministries, as well as former members of my father's ministry before me. The house was packed wall to wall as people were still coming into the house and climbing the outside stairs. They were in the stairways within the house. There was not an empty room in the building. My mother and father-in-law were there in the kitchen, where my office was at, and they were washing dishes and drying them while coaching the younger people on how to keep the floors bright and shiny and how to keep everything pristine. Their two sons, my two younger brothers-in-law, Keith and Eddie, were also there, and they were manning the doors of the house, making sure that people would wait their turn patiently and to not cause confusion or ruckus while inside my house. My sister-in-law, Star, was also there, and she was escorting people to other areas of the house to wait for me, moving them through and out the kitchen also, after I was done talking with each of them. Though everyone tried their best, the lines just continued to grow, and my desk stayed full of files to review and people to address. One of the many people standing in the line to see me that day was my middle daughter, Honey, but whose real name is Shantae. All along, my little girl is being bumped around while in this line, pushed aside and being sponged as people stepped around her and in front of her to get to me before her. By the time Shantae reaches me, she's tired, frustrated, and feels hopeless. She then dumps a pile of spiral-bound notebooks and smaller notepads, folded and balled up sheets of old paper that was stained and wrinkled up, and poured it all over my desk. So much so until I couldn't even see the wood covering of the top of the desk any longer. She saw the confusion on my face and misperceived it as frustration. She said to me, "You always fussing," then proceeded to get up angrily and stomped away from the table. She didn't realize that in my confusion, it was only because I wanted to properly assess in correct order everything that she had laid on my table, so that I wouldn't miss anything that was related to any of her issues. As I proceeded to chase my daughter through the crowded house, we passed through a room that looked ironically familiar. It appeared to be the family area of a funeral home that our family had utilized in the past. My daughter ran past one of my deceased male cousins, who was sitting in a chair, eating pizza and drinking soda, but with his head down. When he saw me chasing behind her, he partly stood up halfway out of his chair and did a light smirk and huffed as I ran past him, while tilting his sunglasses to the tip of his nose, and then very gently sat back down in the chair as he was dressed in all white. The fact that he was even in the room, along with the sinister gestures that he made, let me know that something both undesirable and also unacceptable must have happened to my poor little girl. As my daughter Shante continued running away, she ran down a dark stairway as she passed by my childhood pastor. He was sitting in a lounging chair, leaning back in it, while dressed in all white also. Bishop looked at me with a look as if his eyes were piercing through to my very soul. It was as if I could read his mind through his eyes, and he could talk to me through his. It was as if he was telling me that if I don't get my daughter now, she will be lost down those stairs forever. So I ran past him, and I looked over the rail of the dark stairway, only to discover that the area where my daughter had ran to was the autopsy area of the back of the funeral home. That area where they prepared the bodies for viewing and their burial. I remember the hopelessness that I felt, the fear, the dread that I could not see my daughter anymore through the darkness. Sadly for me, this dream ended right there, and I woke up out of my sleep with another sense of loss, but yet urgency, in that reality was not lost inside of my subconscious state. That, like the wise King Solomon once said in the book of the Ecclesiastes, chapter 9 and verse number 11, that again I saw that under the sun the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor bread to the wise, nor riches to the intelligent, nor favor to the skillful, but time and chance happens to them all. Therefore, if there is any time remaining, then yet there is a chance that also still remains for to recover and salvage that which remains. Thank God for chances.
My water. All right, back home in North Carolina, and so you can see my rug rat back in the back going to church. She might get saved today. Y'all pray for her.